Easy.
Welcome into the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. Proud to have back in the studio with us from last week. He joins us again this week to talk some NFL playoffs. And I have weird questions that people sent me that we're going to ask Levon Kirkland today. Levon, thanks for joining the program, man.
Oh, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we got to pull you. It's my fault. We got to pull your microphone down there. There we go. A little bit. That way we can.
Is that better?
There you go. That way people can hear you. All right.
Okay, then let's do it again. Yes, I am happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm ready to talk some ball, man, and some other things.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the NFL playoffs. You've got the number one seeds are finally in action this weekend after taking a week off. And, of course, we'll take your questions for Levon at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. I have some folks sent me questions behind the scenes to ask you. Some of them are kind of weird, but some of them are actually really interesting.
Okay,
and,
let's do it.
Yeah, so we'll go after it. The first one that I got, and I mentioned this to you when you walked in today, someone said, your buddy, Kevin Green, who if you follow Levon on Facebook, you'll see pictures he posted of himself and Kevin. Right. And, of course, made his mark in professional wrestling. The adage was, why didn't you do that? Because you were a guy that I don't think people can really appreciate the level of athlete that you were.
Yes.
Because, you were in high school. Weren't you like a high jump? You did.
Yeah, I did high jump. I played basketball. I ran the 400. I ran the mile relay. So I was a pretty good athlete, especially high jump. And I high jump. My highest was 6'6".
I could see you like just high jumping.
Yeah, that could have been one of my moves in wrestling.
You could have stood on the apron and just jumped over the top rope there. That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah. I really fantasize about being a wrestler a lot of times. And I actually met with Jim Ross and Vince McMahon, and they were like, "When are you going to join the square circle?" And I was supposed to have another meeting with him, but that's when Eddie Guerrero, I think Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn, they just came in to the WWE at the time. And so they were dealing with them and kind of lost a little interest. Talked to Kevin about doing it, and he was just like, that's no place for a Christian man to do. So I'm like, but you did it. And he was like, but Kirk, I'm telling you. He said there was a lot of jealousy that went on, especially with him and his notoriety and his namesake. I can imagine some of those guys were maybe a little jealous about him taking their spot or something like that.
Well, let's put this into perspective. Maybe there's two parts to this.
Right.
One, he knows if you come in with him, you may take his spot.
I might.
That might have happened.
Because I had a lot of charisma. I think a lot of people don't understand my personality.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger than what I put out there.
Yeah. But the other end of it too, can you imagine a tag team match with yourself and Kevin Green against just about anybody else? That Lord help him, that would not work out well.
I bet we could have made a really good tag team.
You absolutely could have.
Yeah.
But I don't. Kevin may not have wanted to share that spotlight. He wouldn't have wanted to tag you in at all.
You think so? I don't know. Kevin was one of my better friends as far as the NFL is concerned. I think me and Kevin would have worked out fine.
Yeah, I think that would have been really cool. But did you get to meet Vince McMahon?
Yes, I did.
This is a guy that every time you read anything about him, there are people when they walk into a room, people just kind of shut up. Right. You could have hundreds of people talking. Vince McMahon walks in, everybody shuts up.
Yeah.
Was that kind of the vibe that you had with him? You're like, man, I'm meeting with this guy.
Yeah, Vince was kind of bigger than life. He really was. So we only met briefly. I met Stephanie McMahon, and she was just telling me how handsome I was. So she must be a little bit blind, but Jim Ross and me and The Rock at the time were pretty decent. We were pretty cool. And I met with those guys backstage, and I love wrestling. I know a lot about wrestling. I still keep up with wrestling today, so it could have been something to do. But after I retired, I was like, man, that's a lot of banging. My body was already kind of banged up. I can imagine that wrestling would have been the same.
Well, I got one more wrestling question. It's from Brandon, who's watching online here. He says, one time he saw a segment with you and Booker T. Can you talk about that?
Yes. When I was in Philadelphia, it was kind of funny because I came into training camp a little late. They got me right when training camp started. And I was on second team, actually. I was, trying to start. And I told myself, if I get a really big play, I'm going to do the little Booker T thing where he looks at it. He looks at his hands 5 times. So I end up making a big-time play in the first preseason game. Just really rocked this guy. And I got up, and I kind of looked at my hand like Booker T used to look at his hand.
Right.
And everybody was wondering, what was that?
Yeah.
They really liked the celebration so much that Booker T and I got in contact, and he came down to the facilities, and we had a little segment. And actually, I forgot, Gene Orkland, actually, I forgot the show they had that I was on that. And me and Booker T was out there having a conversation. We talked, and I remember Booker T when him and his brother was the Ebony Connection. That goes way, so that tells you how much I really love the sport and how I kept up with it. So I knew him from back in those days, before Harlem Heat, before all of that. I knew him from the Ebony Connection.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
I know.
In fact, he doesn't have that out in his documentaries about the Ebony Connection.
Right,
none of that,
right,
so.
Yeah.
Oh man! All right. By the way, Brandon says they put that on a DVD he has called "The Best of WWE Confidential."
Confidential. That was the show. Yes.
Yeah. So interesting stuff there. All right. Another question that I got from some folks behind the scenes. By the way, you can call us at 803-978-1832. We're going to talk about the playoffs here in a moment, as I got my rundown sheet here for that. But they ask about, now you see a lot of times players will swap jerseys.
Yes.
That's not something you guys did back in the day, right?
No.
All right. Well,
not in the regular season. We did it more so. If you made the Pro Bowl, it was something that you did. But because in the regular season, man, you changed jerseys, man, our equipment guy went crazy. He would have lost his mind.
Right.
Because he didn't want to probably get you another jersey because that would have cost money. So we never did it back in those days. I wish we would have, though.
Well, but then they also ask, what is the one piece of sports memorabilia that you have in your house and you like to tell people about when they come over?
The Dan Marino ball that I intercepted my third year.
Did you get Dan Marino to sign it?
No, Dan Marino didn't sign it, but back in the day, they would kind of paint it for you. They would kind of say they would tell you the date and all that, and they would say like intercepted from whoever the quarterback was. So Dan Marino was like my prize ball, and that's the one that I really enjoy.
And you have that, and that's kind of, is that up somewhere in your house where you can actually?
It's kind of a talking piece. Yeah,
it's kind of neat.
Yeah,
I got to interview a guy that was Napoleon Bonaparte's like great nephew or something or
really?
other. And apparently this guy owned he says it's a shipping company, but basically if there were any containers that were shipped down from the Mississippi, he owned the company that made those containers. So
he
had money on top of money.
Sure.
But he managed to get all of the majority of Napoleon's work stuff from when Napoleon was in power, and he got Napoleon's sword.
Wow.
So
how much that's worth?
Well, that was the thing, man. So I was thinking about, I asked him, I said, hey, you know what? He let me hold the sword. And I was like, this is awesome.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what do you do with the sword? He goes, well, it's when I leave here, we're going to fly back home. I'm going to put it up on my fireplace.
Really?
And
wow.
He said, you can just walk in and play with Napoleon's sword.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Imagine
steal
that.
it.
I'm not stealing Napoleon's sword. No, that's not the way to go. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, little things like that, though. I mean, that's kind of neat, though. You've got that ball there. That's kind of cool.
It really is, because I really enjoy watching Dan Marino play. I enjoy playing against him, and to intercept one of his balls, man, it was kind of cool.
That is kind of cool.
Yes.
Do you have any other sports memorabilia stuff that maybe you have in the attic that you would look at later on? A lot of folks
my high school jersey. I have that.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool to have, because I never thought I would ever ever framed that jersey. You're playing high school. You really never think about it. Even in college, and I never thought about having my jersey in a frame. And then after I retired, they retired my number at Lamar High School, and they gave me the original jersey that I played in. So that was cool because I didn't know where it was. I mean,
Well, we should get together and have your high school jersey. I'm sure you've got a Clemson jersey.
Yes.
And then your NFL jerseys, and that could be really neat to have.
It is, but yeah, I wish I would have collected other guys' memorabilia or their jerseys. I wish they would have let us, but back then it just wasn't. I don't really recall a lot of guys trading over jerseys. And like I said before, our trainer, our equipment guy, he didn't really play that. He did not want to do that. He would have been pissed off because I imagine you have to get another jersey like all the time when you do that.
Yeah, I don't know how that works behind the scenes, but I can understand that. I'm responsible for making sure you're out there, and what the NFL tells us you have to wear, don't be giving it away.
Right, exactly. So, it just wasn't a thing that we did.
Yeah, so there you go.
We took pictures, though.
So you have a set of pictures?
Yeah, like, me and Chester McLaughlin, Wayne Simmons. And one time, Wayne Simmons, Robert Brooks, Briston Buckner took a picture together. That was a pretty cool picture because, it was the guys from Clemson and the one guy from South Carolina. So we would do that a lot. A lot of times, your old classmates or your old teammates that you would see along the journey, you would take pictures with them, but we never exchanged jerseys.
Okay, well, but I mean, you got pictures. That's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
All right, so moving along, of course, you can call the show at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Speaking of the in-state programs, I want to ask you a basketball question really quick here.
Sure.
Both teams are not playing very well right now. Lost 3 straight, and it just seems like they're going to have seasons that are just going to be kind of
Yeah.
The last time that both teams made the tournament in the same season was 1997. There is basketball talent in this state.
Right.
Why can't we consistently have those two programs, the big money programs, in the field of 68?
I'm not sure. It should be a lot better than what it is.
I mean, I would think so. And I'm not putting out Coach Martin or Coach Brownell. I'm just saying, if you go and you look at the facilities at South Carolina, they've got top-notch facilities. Right. Same thing for Clemson. They just dumped a ton of money into it.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue of, all right, we have the facilities are fine. Both of these football teams are going to be able to get top 25 classes this year,
right,
as far as recruiting goes. But
why doesn't basketball work the same?
Exactly.
Well, I think because maybe it's reputation. I think that you have to really get a dynamic coach who can build a program. I think once you build it, then guys will come. But I think that most guys probably coming out, Clemson basketball, maybe South Carolina men basketball are, you probably won't get the top guys. So you're going to have to build that thing in one fashion or another.
All right, good stuff there. Let's take a quick call here. And welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon.
Welcome to the Rundown, my show.
Your show, okay.
Hey, what Kirkland?
Yes.
What did you think about this week game? Last week game was awful.
Why was it so awful?
It was blowouts.
Okay, yeah, okay.
It was blowouts. I think the Dallas game was pretty good.
Yes.
And Cincinnati game was pretty good.
Right.
The rest of those games was blowouts.
Okay.
The first round games.
First round games, so it's kind of what you expect in a lot of ways.
I mean, it's not like it's Florida games. Come on.
Who?
It's not like it's Florida games, right?
Oh, come on, guy. And I told you about my Florida jokes got to go.
I'm picking at you, friend. Yeah,
I know.
We'll have better games this week, I believe. I really do.
I think it'll be low scoring games in Green Bay, especially.
Green Bay, yeah. Well, Green Bay and the 49ers, I think that's going to be one of the better games, to be honest with you. Both teams have quarterbacks who are, I think, especially Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the man. Even though he starts off slow in playoffs, if you really kind of recognize that.
I actually think Green Bay going to blow them out.
Well, I think Green Bay's going to win the game. I don't know about blowing them out, but I think they definitely will win. What's the other game? Tampa Bay
Tampa Bay, that'd be a decent game.
That's going to be a really good game, I think.
And
Tampa Bay
I
is going to
think
be a game.
Tennessee is good.
Tennessee and Cincinnati, that could be an upset. I'm not sure, but I think Tennessee got a lot of guys coming back. So I would put Tennessee as the favorite there. And then you got what? Then you got Kansas City and Buffalo.
Yeah.
You know what? That might be the best game. I know I say Green Bay and 49ers, but Kansas City and Buffalo may be the best game.
Field goal game?
That could be a field goal game, yes.
Could be.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for calling the show. All right. We're going to have our full picks on that here shortly. But as always, you're welcome to call in 803-978-1832. As we look at some of those matchups, they are some interesting stuff there. But I do have one more question for you. When you were heading into playoff games, did you change any of your routine? Did the coach change the way that they set some of these things up? And how was the atmosphere for that compared to a regular season game?
I thought the playoffs were a lot of fun. It was a little bit more intense, of course. Practices were definitely intense. I don't think we changed anything. And for myself, I really didn't change anything personally. But I just remember them being very intense. When the game starts, I mean, you understand that either you win or you go home. There's no two ways about it. The mistake, I think coaches are a little tighter. I think they're kind of like really into the details a whole lot more. But I always thought the playoffs were fun. I always thought they were, but they were definitely pressure. When we played the Colts and we won that game to go to the Super Bowl, that was a pressure cooker the whole game because it was so tight the whole way through. And I didn't have one of my best games during that game. And, Willie Williams, actually, who's from Columbia, South Carolina, who went to Spring Valley.
Right.
Willie Williams actually saved me one time because I was supposed to do something. I didn't get that done. And Willie came and made a tremendous play because if he would have bounced outside, he would have ran forever. So those games are just full of drama. They really are. But they're a lot of fun, though.
Question from John, the Buckeye apologist there. He says he can't call because of work, but he says, can you ask Levon, from a diehard Bengals fan, who was harder to defend in the mid-90s, Carl Pickens or Darnay Scott?
Ooh, they were both good.
I remember Scott being
Scott was really
soldier. He was good.
I'm telling you, Cincinnati will run one play. It was out of 12 personnel, which means there were 2 tight ends, 1 running back, and those 2 guys on the outside, one on one side, 1 guy on the other side. And they would do like a play action pass. They'd do like a play action fake. And really, Jeff Blake did a great job of carrying out the fake. And I just remember when you recognize the play, it was just a 2-man route. Pickett would go about 15 yards across like an over route, and Darnay would go a deep post. That play was so hard to stop. It was so hard to stop because Blake threw a great moon ball, and Darnay Scott could just go get it. And Carl Pickens was a fantastic receiver. So I would say defending someone deep, it would definitely be Scott. But both of those guys were really, really talented.
All right, so good question there. Let's go back out to the phones. And welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, guys. I want to throw out a question to Levon Kirkland. Ask him about the Clemson situation. A lot of the Carolina fans like to compare Dabo to Coach Beamer and his situation, but I always felt that, and Thomas said it on the Clemson Sports Talk show, the fact that he left in the middle of the season, that gave Coach Sweeney an opportunity to kind of show what he could do. But the Clemson program under Bowden was not a bad program. They were winning 7, 8 ball games, going to bowl games, and they were beating South Carolina. I think they only lost to South Carolina maybe once or twice. And the ACC, let's face it, it's a lot easier to turn it around than it is in the SEC. So what do you think about that as far as them comparing to the turnaround and the job that Bowden did, and, of course, handing it off to Sweeney and what's happened from that point on?
Yeah, I think people don't really realize that when Tommy Bowden got the job, the program was in a really bad situation. Coach West really didn't do a good job as far as recruiting, and things like facilities. He didn't really ask for those things. I think Tommy Bowden did a very respectable job. I thought that he kind of cleaned. He definitely understood why facilities were important. We started recruiting a better caliber. Our offense wasn't bad, but our defense wasn't quite there. And he did a decent job. But I don't know if Tommy Bowden could have ever got us over the top. And I think you needed somebody like a Dabo Swinney, who's a young guy, who's a great recruiter, to come in there and kind of change the culture around a little bit more so than Tommy. But I think Tommy left it in a better place than what it was. And Dabo just kind of took it to the top a little bit. But I've told people in a lot of ways, I think Shane Beamer is a really good coach. And I thought he did an excellent job this year. He's doing a good job recruiting. He kind of reminds you of kind of the Sweeney thing, but I think it's a little different. I wouldn't say those guys are exactly alike, but I think that's what you need at South Carolina, a young coach who can recruit. And that really what I saw was the players really, really drew to him. I mean, they just kind of drew to him. I mean, they really like him. And I think if you can, you just need, I'm telling you, you need like a quarterback or so, or a guy who can change that program around. And once you get that guy, other guys will follow.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more with Levon Kirkland. 803-978-1832. Someone asked a question about what's the strangest thing someone asked you to sign. We'll get that answer when we come back. This is The Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Volsteak wants to know why Stetson Bennett looks like Screech. Calm down. Be nice.
Hey, man, that guy just won a national championship.
Do you see the way Georgia fans are treating him on my goodness, man, they are beating him senseless. This guy won a national title and broke that 40-year streak for them. And no, you got to go somewhere else. They're not happy, man.
Wow.
Not happy at all. Oh, goodness. What game are you folks over there looking most forward to this weekend? I know I'm going to be holed up watching my Packers on Saturday night, but it's going to be.
I'm going to be watching all of them.
Are you? Well, yeah, you get to do all that. I mean, you probably still have friends in all those organizations, I would think, right? That you could talk to.
I actually met Aaron Rodgers before. And I did an internship, and they were just like, well, we got Levon Kirkland here. And Aaron Rodgers turned around and was like, Levon Kirkland?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, Aaron Rodgers. And we talked throughout the whole time. I thought he was a good guy, but I'm telling you, he can sling the ball better than anybody I've ever seen.
He got messed up, and when he got with Danica Patrick, something happened to him.
He got weird, man.
I'm just saying.
You ever get hooked up with those celebrities sometimes, man? It gets a little weird.
I mean, he was with Mila Kunis and all that. I mean, he's had a lot of beautiful women. Let's leave it at that. But
right.
Danica Patrick did something to him, and I don't know what it was, but he's been strange since then. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Welcome back to The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Thanks for joining us on the program. Levon Kirkland checking in with us today. We're going to do some playoff picks in a moment. Someone asked, though, what's the strangest thing a fan has asked you to sign?
Ooh, the strangest thing. There were two I thought were really strange. One wanted me to sign their baby, like their onesie.
Oh,
wanted me to sign that. I thought that was kind of strange.
That's strange.
And then another young lady wanted me to sign her thigh with a Sharpie. And I was like, are you sure? And the sad part was my family was around. Everybody was around. And it was she put me in a difficult situation because you want to be nice and you want to sign the autographs. But, she's like, can you sign my thigh? And my father is a minister and he might not have been paying attention. But I was like, are you sure about me signing your thigh? She's like, yes. And so I signed her thigh.
I don't know.
I was like, okay.
Look, and all fans want autographs and things like that. But
right.
after a game, and let's say it's after a tough loss and you're up in Pittsburgh and it's cold as all get out and you're just trying to, trying
to get home.
Just trying to get home. And,
yes,
you got people up rushing you for, that has to weigh down on you a little bit, right?
It did, but I always try to keep it in perspective that, hey, at least people want your autograph, and I thought it was really cool that people wanted the autograph. But sometimes they kind of stick you, it'll be late at night and you're walking through the airport and there'll be some people there. And they don't just want you to sign one thing. They want you to sign a collection of what they have. And you just got off say you got off a West Coast trip.
Right.
And you're dead tired, man, or a Monday night trip or something like that. And you're dead tired. And so sometimes that could be, that can bug you a little bit. But, anytime a kid would ask you for an autograph, that would be great. That would be fine.
Right.
But it was just some of the ones that you knew were probably selling it on eBay at the time.
Was there a section of guys that you played with that were like, you know what, I'm just not going to do it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I can tell you a kind of a cruel story. Greg Lloyd.
That's who I was going to go with. Was
Greg Lloyd was no joke. He signed autographs. He's a great guy. I mean, especially now, man, just me and him get on the phone and talk, man. And I love Greg Lloyd to death. But I think it was during training camp one time. And it was a little kid. And I think the kid called him Lloyd or Greg.
Oh.
He's like, Greg, can you sign this? And he said, young man, that's Mr. Lloyd to you. He's like, come on, Greg, sign it for me. He kept going on. So Greg's like, let me see it. Let me see your football. He signed the football and then he kicked it. He punted it.
That's funny.
I mean, he punted it a long ways. And it was kind of cruel, but it was kind of funny at the same time. And I guess he was trying to make a point that, I'm Mr. Lloyd to you, not Greg. But, fans, they hear your name. They don't think Mr. Lloyd. They don't think like, that you say sir or whatever. They just call you by what everybody else is calling you.
They see you as a superhero in some way. And that's probably how the kid felt. But,
right.
But also Greg Lloyd had a reputation. I mean, I remember they had I think it was a 60 Minutes piece on him where he was working out and all the stuff he was doing there. And I mean, the Sports Illustrated cover he was on where he looked like he was going to kill you.
Oh, Greg was very intimidating looking. And he wasn't really a big, huge guy, but he was full of muscles. So he had like the 8-pack. You know how some people have the 6-pack? I mean, not me, but he had a 8-pack. I mean, he was a black belt in karate, taekwondo. And so and then he just had a menacing look about him. I mean, he was a intimidating guy. And people not just outside people and fans, but guys in the NFL were intimidated by Greg Lloyd.
Yeah, I mean, Greg Lloyd could walk in here now, and just my perception of him would be
man.
Yes, Mr. Lloyd.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it would be with me. But I just because of the reputation that he had.
Yeah.
Brandon wants to know. He said he knows that you were teammates with Anthony Wright.
Yes.
In '99 with Pittsburgh.
Uh-huh.
Did you play with any other Gamecock players in the league?
Ooh, I'm trying to think. I played with Deuce when I went to Philly. Played with Deuce.
He was pretty good.
Deuce was real good. Anthony Wright was a really good player. I thought that, and he played in the league for a long time.
He did.
He really played in the league for a long time.
I think he's one of the quarterbacks that they kind of missed on at South Carolina.
They missed on him.
I thought he was light years better than some of the guys that were playing in front of him. Now, I'm not a coach, but when he got in there, he was
Yeah.
able to make some plays. And then obviously going on to the NFL, he obviously had the talent.
Well, he impressed me when he came to the Steelers. He did a really good job, and I mean, they actually kept him on the team. But I think those are the only two that I played with as far as teammates are concerned.
Well, there you go. Thanks for the question, Brandon. We come back, we're going to talk about the playoff matchups for this weekend. And I'm hoping to, there's a theory, we go back to wrestling, that they used to have Hulk Hogan would wrestle people, and they would call it giving them the Hogan dust to make them stars. I'm hoping to get some Levon dust for my Packers this weekend. We'll get his picks when we come back. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, we're gonna do your question on Arians here in just a little bit there, Blake. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the time you were in college. I mean, because in theory, with your knowledge of the game, you could still be coaching if you really wanted to.
You know what would be really cool though? If I could be a head coach at a high school and also just really change the culture and get those guys to, be holistic as players, that would be cool. That would be cool. Because I know that I could change lives.
Right.
And also still be in the game. Because I still love the game. I still love the strategy about it. I still love to talk the game. So it'd be a great way for me to stay in the game, change lives, and just enjoy myself.
Steve wants to know, what was your record against the Gamecocks?
Does he really want to know that?
That's
fan?
the question's right there in front of you. You see it right there in front of you.
I was 4-0 when I played. I was 4-0. Yeah.
Okay. There you go. I mean, they asked the questions. I didn't set that up. He asked. But the whole thing, getting back into high school coaching, like Corey Jenkins is a friend of the show. He coaches some high school stuff,
okay,
and
yeah.
we've had other guys that they're out there. They're putting in the working with some of those young folks.
It's really high school is in a lot of ways. If you could coach high school, I think you could coach any other level.
Blind Squirrel says, for Levon, having grown up in church, what songs have inspired you throughout the years? Recently, I've been listening to the late great Lee Williams, and he loves the song "It'll Be All Right."
Okay, well, I used to when my grandmother died, my grandmother Mary, when she passed away, the one song that they had that I still love today is "Precious Lord." Like, "Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on." So actually, before I would go out to before every game, I would sing that song to myself before the game, because it was just in remembrance of my grandmother. And I just
cool.
I would always sing that song before I played.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it was cool.
And you've got your daughters too, right?
Yeah, well, I have a daughter.
Well, you have your daughter. I mean, is she getting to a point now where she's trying to compete at a higher level?
No, you know what? She is, it's funny. She's a really good athlete, but she's more of the artsy kind of type girl, drama. She's done a few plays. That's going to be her path.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. We're coming back here. Here we go. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Levon Kirkland joins us in studio today. If you would like to join in the conversation, 803-978-1832. Blake wanted to know about your time with Coach Arians, who is not going to be in the playoffs this weekend, and how he worked hard taking smaller jobs in the late 90s to get where he is now. Tell us about your time with Coach Arians.
Oh, it was great. Coach Arians really loved players, and he really wanted them to be coaches. He felt like players that should be their next level, being coaches. And he gave me an opportunity, and he wanted actually to keep me longer, but under the contract or whatever, they were going to do that. But I liked him because he knew so much about the offensive side of the ball.
Right.
And I thought he did a great job of coaching situations.
Right.
And he was old school in a lot of ways. I mean, now he would curse you out. Now it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But he would love on you too, but he would curse you out.
You know, and I know it sounds like I'm the old man yelling at the sky, but I think we're at a point now where coaches that can get into you like Coach Aaron's does, I think those kind of coaches are they're kind of phasing out now. I mean,
they're definitely phasing out.
Do you think that in today's game that you have to be a different kind of coach to relate to the young people that are there now?
No, I just think you got to be able to relate. You know,
Right.
I don't think I think everybody has a different style. I think as long as you can relate, and especially for the NFL player, as long as you can help their game, those guys will listen to your every word. As long as you can help them become better,
right?
They have no problem with you. I think it's the coaches that don't relate to them well, don't develop relationships. Those are the ones that normally have trouble, and those are the ones that usually lose the locker room. I think when you lose the locker room, that's it for you as a coach.
Right.
But I think BA does a good job of relating to guys. Is he a little harsh? And what he did last week, was that called for? No. I don't believe in touching anybody. But his players love him. You know, and he's one of the best coaches to work under.
How was he as far as setting up? What I mean by that, when you guys would have your coaches meetings or whatever, I mean,
right.
Was it like everybody just comes in, or did it have like, all right, we're going this, and this, and you kind of knew what was up?
No, you know, honestly, he let his coordinators really he let those guys really coach and let them set up. During the season, we only met as a staff, a full staff, once a week. And that was after the game, to kind of go after the game, the injury reports, things like that. But we didn't do a whole bunch of big, like the staff meets all the time. Yeah. He didn't do that. We just kind of we did our thing. And Coach he was the kind of guy that didn't believe he had to stay there all night. You know, he believed in as long as you get your work done, you can leave. So Briston Buckner would be there at 4:30 in the morning, and Briston would leave about 5:30 every day. He was gone, but he did all his work. Bruce Arians didn't stay that long. He would leave about 5:32. So he was just like, the game is going to be there. don't worry about it. And he's like, as long as you do your work, you're good. And as long as you're with your family, it's a good family balance. He would fire you if you didn't go to your kids' game, right, or you didn't go to their recital. Right. He let me get off one time for a whole week just to spend with my daughter Kennedy.
That's neat.
So he did some great things as far as for the family and the coaches. He would let all the family come in on Saturday and watch practice, be on the field. So although he may have a persona about him, I thought he was a great coach, and I thought he kept the balance pretty well.
It's just interesting when when sometimes you step behind the scenes and you can see how people are completely different from what they put out there. 803-978-1832. Let's look at our first game. Of course, this is tomorrow at 4:30. Tennessee, the number 1 seed in the AFC, will play the number 4 seed, the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a Titans team that is getting their A1 running back. Yeah. How is that going to affect the team? Because they won the number 1 seed. He didn't play half the season. I mean, is the idea of, hey, he's going to get salted up in the playoffs and ready to go? Or
I think Tennessee will be ready. Right. Because the one thing that always works in the playoffs, if you got a good running game, it really, I mean, you can do a lot of good things. Running the ball is very important. Being physical is really important. I think Tennessee is going to be able to run the ball on Cincinnati. I think they will, and they would keep Joe Burrows on the sideline. I think that's what you got to do, because this kid from Cincinnati, Joe Burrows, he's dynamic. They got great receivers. They got a good running game. So offensively, I think Cincinnati can hang in there with anybody. But I think if you're Tennessee, you got to run the ball. and you got to keep him on the sideline, because if he gets out there, they're going to move the ball and they're going to score. So you got to switch that around.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and I think that the Bengals have that. Man, they've got like three great wide receivers.
They've done a good job in the draft.
Jamar Chase, of course, is outstanding. Yes. I was one of those people that was thinking, you know what? Maybe they should have gotten an offensive tackle to protect Burrow a little bit. But, man, I look silly with that because Chase is an all-pro. And then you've got, of course, the former Clemson standout, T. Higgins is up there on the other side. And, I mean, they've got some great wide receivers.
You know, T. Higgins, to me, was a steal for them. Right. I mean, although he was the first in the second round, T. Higgins was definitely a good steal for him. I mean, T. Higgins is a baller to me, man. For what he does it very well. As far as jump balls are concerned, as far as making the catch, T. Higgins is that perfect guy that you just basically send him on 9 routes and say, go get the ball. Red zone guy, he's pretty good with that. But I really think that the Cincinnati Bengals have done a good job as far as draft picks in the last 3 years, where if you can get your first, second, and third round right, and those guys end up being starters, that usually leads to a very solid team that will go to the playoffs, and that's what they are. I don't know if they have enough for Tennessee this week, but watch out for that team. Cincinnati's going to be good for years.
Tennessee is a 3.5-point favorite. It's at Tennessee. You know what? Last week, by the way, you were a perfect on your playoff spots there. So we got to get your numbers for this week, but I'm going to take the Bengals in the upset.
Okay, sure.
So what's your pick, though?
I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans. I always like teams who get a chance to rest, get a chance to get some of their guys back. They really do. They do get their guys back. I just think that I just think they're going to be a better team. And then also they're a team that's been there before. They've been in the playoffs. They know what that atmosphere is going to be like. So I'm just going to pick the Tennessee Titans because they got to bye and because I think they do the one great thing you got to do in the NFL playoffs, and that's run the ball.
All right. So we disagree on that one. That's all right, though. We'll come back in a moment. Final segment, we'll pick 49ers and Packers, Buccaneers and those Hollywood Rams, Bills and Chiefs. We'll have all that for you in just a moment. This is The Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, Brandon, we're going to do your question on Mr. Capers there in a moment. Yeah, that is a good question about Gordon Ramsay. That's funny.
But like I said, though, if on that level, as long as you can get results.
Right.
And you're not winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it doesn't work. But is there a place for a guy who does that? Yeah, as long as he shows you that he cares about you and wants to win, it's not a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal.
I think that I wonder sometimes if you are with what you said, if you're a yeller and a screamer, you're not really winning. It's kind of like that gets worn out.
Yeah, it gets old.
I think that kind of haunted Muschamp a little bit. In theory, because he was a guy that he put a foot in your butt, but I do think that that if his way would have worked, I think that there were a lot of players that really, really liked him, even from Florida and everything else. But I think that the way that he, especially with the way that he would talk with the media and everything else, when he came out and
rubs you the wrong way, right?
Yeah, he would say things like, "Well, this coaching staff won the most games in South Carolina history in the first 2 seasons." And
honestly, I thought he was just a defensive guy.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I kind of, Venables, that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Venables is.
I think he's a defensive guy. I don't know if it's going to work for me, head coach. That's me.
Yeah. You never know.
But you never know.
Never know on that front.
Mm-hmm. But he's a hell of a defensive guy, though.
He is. He is.
He's a heck of a defensive guy.
You're welcome there, Blind Squirrel. Appreciate you, man. Steve says you play for the most stable franchise, coaching-wise, in all of pro sports. The Steelers who never fire coaches. That's why they're in the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
That's why. All right, here we go. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Quick question from Brandon, and we got to get our picks in, Levon. He wants to know how it was to play for Dom Capers, who was once a Panthers head coach, but known for that 3-4 defense, right?
3-4 defense. I love Dom Capers, man. Dom Capers was, when you go into the NFL, man, you're treated, in my experience at Clemson, you got yelled at a lot, but as long as you could play, they didn't yell at you as much. But there was a lot of, just a lot of screaming and yelling, which I never really appreciated as a player. But Dom Capers, he really treats you like a professional. And that's what I liked about Dom. And Dom would talk to you in a very calm type voice. Even when you made a mistake, he was understandable. And he also would say, well, next time, this is what you need to do. Right. Next time, make this adjustment. It wasn't just yelling and screaming at you because you didn't know. He would actually give you the why and why you should do this and why you should do that.
Right.
And, when I was a big linebacker, and Dom was the one was just like, listen, if you keep moving the way you're moving, we have no problem with you as far as your size is concerned. And right there, I mean, just always had a really good relationship with Dom. I thought Dom was a really good guy.
I thought Coach Capers was pretty cool too just from the outside looking in. But let's look at some of these games. 49ers and Packers. The 49ers, we kind of talked about this last week. They're a team that they kind of remind me of like a UFC fighter, and they're heading to the octagon, and they're like, you're going to have to kill us to get us out of here.
Yes.
And I think that they are one of the toughest teams that are left there.
Whew.
And it's kind of a crummy draw for my Packers, but Green Bay is a 6-point favorite at home. It's going to be colder than all get out up there.
Yes.
Man, great matchup there. What do you think about this game?
Man, I just trust in Aaron Rodgers. I know that he has to have a great record against the 49ers and whatnot, but Aaron just finds a way. And, this year they're a lot better on defense as well. But, yeah, the 49ers, man, they will – it's like you're going to have to kill us to beat us, just like you said. Right. And they got guys like Deebo Samuels. And I got to tell you, Deebo runs like a bully. Why his namesake Deebo is for a reason. This guy runs tough, and the 49ers are the worst draw for the Green Bay Packers. You would hate to play that team because if it's close in the fourth, you're going to have to fight for the rest of the game. So I think Green Bay is going to win, but they're going to have to put on their boxing gloves, and they're going to have to tape it up because the 49ers are going to come there to try to spoil their time. But I'm going to pick the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers too, but I'm taking the Packers not because I'm a Packers apologist, which I am, but I think Bosa may not be playing this game. San Francisco's dealing with some injuries.
They are.
And the Packers are coming in fresh. Green Bay is at Green Bay. It's tough to go in there and win. And I like the Packers there, even though, and I'm not sold on Jimmy Garoppolo. He's going to be playing somewhere else next season, but I don't think he's got, it just seems like he's just off a little bit this year.
Yeah, I don't know if they really trust Jimmy as much. That's why they went and got the quarterback that they got.
Yeah.
They don't trust him as much. Jimmy is he's a vet. The guys like him. They try to rally behind him. But last week you saw Jimmy still do some things that you see rookie quarterbacks do. That pick that he threw was like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. You're a vet. You're not supposed to throw that pass.
Yeah.
And he threw it, and you're like, well, God. And then the other mistake he made was when Trent Williams was coming, he was trading over to the other side. As a veteran quarterback, you got to make sure that tackle is set.
Right.
You can't just snap. Like, that's something a veteran guy should know.
Yeah.
And I think it's like when you really start believing in Jimmy, he does something to make you doubt him again. And that's why I think that Green Bay is going to win this game.
Next matchup is the Hollywood Rams, which is what I'm going to call them.
The Hollywood Rams.
Against Tampa Bay, heading down to Tampa Bay. Tampa's dealing with some injuries, too.
Yes, they are.
I don't think it matters to a point. I mean, I do like what the Rams coaching staff, as everybody loves Levon here, but the Rams coaching staff is great.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom Brady's 806 years old, and he's still leading. I think he's up there like the top 4 in passing in the NFL. He just carves teams up.
He does. If you play zone or you play soft against him, he'll carve you up. If you blitz against him, he can carve you up. But I think that the injuries that they got against a Rams team that's really strong on defense, I think you put Ramsey on the tall receiver, Evans. You put him and then you eliminate him. I think the Rams are going to win this game.
All right. Well, there you go. Yeah. Tampa Bay is a 3-point favorite, so it could go either way. And then the final matchup, this is probably my favorite matchup of the weekend. All these games are going to be really good.
Oh, yeah, man.
I mean, not like last weekend where you saw some of the stuff and it's like, ugh. But Bills at Chiefs. Josh Allen is a big dude, and he's not scared to drop his head a little bit.
Right.
And run the ball. And by the way, the Bills they're running the ball effectively. I mean, he's not having to throw all the time. I mean, they are really, really good.
Yeah, I think as long as Allen doesn't have to do everything, the Bills are a better team. When he can really throw the ball around and let the running game do his thing, he's a better guy. But this guy, I'm going to tell you, Josh Allen is a talented quarterback who can do it all. And he's way more athletic than a lot of people may even give him credit for. And you hate playing a quarterback like that because he can turn a 3rd and 15 to a 4th and 2 or quickly. 4th and 1. Now you go for it. So now on defense, you're tired. Defense is energy. And if you can wear defense out, man, by a good running quarterback, boy, that's a long day. But, man, Kansas City, they're playing very well, too, especially on the defensive side, which I think that's where they've gotten better. Mahomes and all those that cast of characters, they do their thing, And Mahomes actually, to me, is playing a lot smarter than he did in the last couple of years. Last year, I think that he really felt like he could pretty much do anything and win the game, and that's when Tampa Bay surprised him because they just played solid defense, didn't let him get anything big, and they won. But, gosh, man, this is a tough game to pick. And I may be wrong on this one, but I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, it's hard winning at Arrowhead in April. Or not in April, I'm sorry, in January.
In January, yes.
It's hard winning up there. So
it is cold in
Kansas
Kansas
cold.
City. Oh, my God, it's cold.
Well, here's a cool stat for you.
Okay.
Mahomes leads the NFL in play-action touchdowns. Allen ranks 2nd, right behind him. So, I mean, it's kind of like both teams are wanting to do the same thing.
Right.
Butter you up with the run, then they're going to beat you down the field.
Yes. And, I think that's where Allen really does it. He gets you in a spot where he's running around. You're not sure as a defender what to do, and a lot of times he can throw that ball deep. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a special player. Patrick Mahomes does things that if I'm running a quarterback camp on skills, I would say do not watch Patrick Mahomes.
No, I mean,
because he does stuff that is really kind of like throwing across the field is one of the things you're not supposed to do, but he does it, and he does it very well. Now, I would suggest your college quarterback does that, but he does some stuff that just throws you off, and they're so good in the red zone too. That's the one thing about Kansas City. They can score in the red zone, where a lot of teams sometimes they struggle there. Kansas City, they get into the red zone, they normally get touchdowns. So that's the reason why I want to go with Kansas City on this one.
Yeah, I like the Chiefs at home, even though, man, the Bills are just great. I mean, they really good. Are. So under my logic, we're going to have let's see here. Green Bay winning and the Buccaneers winning and playing to go to the Super Bowl. Levon has, I think you have the same there too. We both have the Chiefs. We differ on the Bengals and the Titans.
Right.
So we'll see how that works.
Are we different on the Rams in Tampa Bay? Yeah.
I took
You took Tampa Bay.
I did take Tampa Bay.
And
Yeah.
I took the Rams.
Okay. Well, you took the Rams. All right. Well, then there we go. We'll see. Levon was perfect last week. We'll see how that holds up. Levon, you're always welcome in, man. And I hope you come back next Friday.
I'll be back here next Friday.
We'll break down the rest of that. And I want to get you in here around draft time too, as well, because
that'd be great.
That would be I want to get your opinion on the old stockade, because that's kind of what the what it works out to be as far as the NFL draft.
Yes.
All right, Levon, thanks for joining us on the program, man. We will see you guys on Monday here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Have a good weekend.